Welcome to the Anglotopia Podcast.
Hello, everyone.
It's a sunny January day.
No, it is so great. We have an ice storm here today.
Yeah, it's warm and then getting cold and then it's going to turn into ice. So, crazy weather. We haven't had much of a winter. This week we're going to talk about British food. But first, a message from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Jackie Wolfskill, who runs Jackie's Vacations. No relation to this Jackie.
No, different Jackie.
Different Jackie.
But still in the very cool Jackie Club.
Yeah. She's outside of she's in Illinois, and she's been advertising with us since last year. And she's running a Downton Abbey filming locations tour that's going to be in July 2020 from the 23rd to the 31st. And it's a tour of English castles and palaces with a focus on Downton Abbey filming locations. You'll spend 8 days visiting the homes and former homes of England's elite, as well as several filming locations used in Downton Abbey and the TV show and the film. And then you'll explore the rooms and halls of Buckingham Palace and the grounds of Highclere Castle, which is where they film, which is Downton Abbey,
right,
and Kensington Palace, and you'll visit the home of Winston Churchill and a lot more. So it's a great tour for Downton Abbey fans, history aficionados.
There's a lot of history there.
Yeah, Anglophiles. It kind of tick all your boxes. It's a 7-night tour. Pretty much everything is included except for some meals. We're going to post the link in our show notes to the tour page, which gives you the exact dates, the full itinerary, everything that's included, and itinerary highlights, and then, how you can book it. She told us that the tour is almost full and she needs a few more people to fill the tour. So she needs to fill it, I think she said by February 10th. So I would encourage you guys to research quickly. If you want to email her directly, we'll also include this in the show notes. Her email address is jwolfskill@dreamvacations.com. And then, so we'll link in the show notes. It's a really cool tour. I wish we were able to go.
Yeah, it's a really nice tour. And thinking way ahead, this would make an awesome Mother's Day gift, Father's Day gift. I know it's early, but and this is a great way to see Britain if you've never done it, or maybe you're a little apprehensive to go by yourself. It sounds like this tour is going to tick a lot of really nice boxes.
Yeah, everything's kind of handled for you, so you can just sit back and enjoy, seeing the sights rather than
having to navigate.
Yeah, having to navigate and do everything. So everything's kind of done for you. So that's who the sponsor is. Like I said, we'll put the link. Thank you, Jackie. We will put the link in the show notes, and you guys can explore. Also, before we continue, it's time to talk about this week's tea, which is Miles West Country tea, which is made in Somerset. We came across this tea in Updown Cottage when we stayed there, because they normally put this tea in the gift basket, in the welcome basket they leave, and we just loved it there. And so this is another tea that you couldn't really find here.
Yeah, which is a shame, because we like this tea so much that what we didn't finish, because it's a full box of tea.
Yeah, we would
Simon
bring it home,
and Jane are very generous. We would literally bring the box of tea home and pray that it made it through customs, because sometimes it can be a little ticky about.
Yeah,
tea, but
so we couldn't really find it here, so we did the enterprising thing and we imported a large quantity of it. This hasn't proven as popular as the smuggler's tea that we talked about last time, but
I think people just haven't tried it.
People just haven't tried it, so we highly recommend this tea.
It's a really, I think of it as as far as boldness and taste, it's got a beautiful taste to it, but it's not as strong or robust as an English breakfast or an Earl Grey. It makes a really nice afternoon tea. It's a little more mellow.
Yeah, it's a good daily drinker for your second or third cup of tea in the day.
Yeah, it really is. Or even in the evening. That's a nice one. If you would like a nice cup of tea and you don't want too much of a jolt of caffeine. I mean, there's caffeine in it, but if I'm drinking tea in the evening, it's usually this.
And as for us, when we drink it, we feel like we're being taken back to Uptown Cottage. So because
it's a nice memory.
It's a nice memory. So we have a link in the show notes to the store, to our store where we're selling this. We have plenty.
You will not regret it.
You will not regret it. It's $18.99 for a box, and there's 80 tea bags. So
that's a lot of tea.
It's a lot of tea. It will last you a while.
So. Yeah.
All right.
Set it up. There we go.
Alrighty. So British food.
I am so excited
for this. This was your idea.
I'm so excited for this podcast. Like British food and I'm going to make it very public. I'm leaving you right now for British cuisine. British cuisine and I are now in a relationship. We're fully committed to each other. Yeah, this has been real.
Damn. Bye.
No.
Yeah, so British food.
Yeah.
Lots of people have lots of ideas about British food. And when you say British food, that's encompassing a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
Because like British English, there's regional variations, there's Scottish food, there's Northern Irish food, there's Welsh food, and English food, and there's a lot of difference there. And in the popular zeitgeist, there's British food. It used to have a bad reputation, and was a result of post-war rationing and but it's a myth now. British food's really good.
British food is incredible.
And they have signature dishes which are very good. If I had to use a word to describe most of the British food we like, it would be hearty, like sticks to your guts kind of food.
I don't know. I think that's kind of a difference in how you and I eat. You're very much a meat and potatoes kind of guy, and
and now like some of the most famous celebrity chefs are British. You've got Nigella and Gordon Ramsay and
Paul Hollywood. Although he's pastry chef or baker. Yeah,
and just the British cooking shows here are so incredibly popular.
Yeah.
I mean, it's called the Great British Baking Show here. In Britain, it's called the Great British Bake Off, but there was a copyright thing with Betty Crocker. So they call it the Great British Baking Show, and that kind of hit. That was like the big hit after Downton Abbey. Like that became the big British cultural hit here in the U.S. And now it's on Netflix. So it's not.
It also runs on PBS. Well, on your local PBS stations.
The old ones, not the new ones.
Yeah, this is true.
All the new ones are on Netflix now because they sold out.
But no, they didn't sell out. They just wanted to reach a broader audience.
Well, they moved to the commercial network in Britain, and then
Anyway.
So we think that we're kind of in a renaissance of British food.
I think they've been in a renaissance really kind of since we started traveling.
Yeah, it's definitely changed in the 20 years we travel. When I first visited in 2001 with my mom, I would not have described the food as a highlight of my trip. But also, then I was 17 years old and a very picky, fit, fussy eater, as the British say. So I was just trying to survive, not try new foods. And as we started traveling, I tried
our first trip was what, 2003 or 4?
2004.
2004. I'm a very adventurous eater.
Yeah,
There's not a whole lot I won't at least try. But I struggled on our first trip because what I found really odd is that back in 2004 you would have all the components. So like let's take something for example like scrambled eggs. You know, you have your basic ingredients for the most part. You have your egg, maybe some form of dairy like milk or heavy cream or something depending on what kind of eggs you're making. Maybe salt and pepper, butter, chives if you want to get fancy or something like that. And you know, you have this preconceived palette, I guess, of or idea of what all of these components together should taste like. And one of the really bizarre things when we first started traveling is, like, I would read the ingredients, like, on a menu, like, you know, like lamb shank braised in, you know, tomato sauce, you know, kind of like a ossobuco kind of thing. You'd be like, oh, okay, I know what ossobuco tastes like. Yeah, I'll have that. And then, like, it would come, but it would taste completely different. And that was really bizarre to me. I mean, I hadn't had an experience like that before. And Yeah, it took a while. It definitely took a while to learn what I liked in Britain and even though the ingredients were the same, the taste could be vastly different.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. It's because of the different dishes and also the different way things taste. It took me a while to find the things I really liked. I mean, even something like McDonald's tastes completely different in the UK.
It does. It tastes better, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, American McDonald's.
Well, the British beef has a different flavor to it because it's not all corn-fed, and it just has a richer taste to it.
Well, even grass-fed American beef here tastes different than British beef.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just different.
It's just different because of the environment it's raised in, the moisture and the humidity and all that.
Eggs and butter.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. It just, if it has the taste of being, excuse me, a little richer.
Yeah, in fact we actually buy Irish butter now at the grocery store, the Kerrygold Irish butter, because it tastes closer to European or British style butter. It's richer and creamier, and we just think it's better than the normal American butter.
And British bread. We could write a whole show about British bread.
I would pay a large sum of money to actually import British bread because British bread is so good.
Well, and not only that, for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, like a slice of British bread is like this big.
It's like twice the size of an American piece of bread.
Like, and it's a little thinner.
And it's denser.
And it's not sweet.
And it's not sweet, yeah.
So, like, a couple years back, we spent 6 weeks in Britain. And as a family of 4 with really young children, we used a lot of bread between toast and sandwiches and just bread, Can I have a snack? Yeah, here's a piece of bread. Which sounds kind of weird, but we have weird kids. But anyway, so then when we came home, we bought bread and it almost tastes like cake.
Yeah, it's
sweet.
It's like eating a piece of candy. It's like, why is this so sweet? It should be sweet.
Yeah, before you've put marmalade on it.
Probably my favorite British meal is breakfast, where I make British eggs with British butter and full fat cream milk with British breaded toast with butter and marmalade on it. It's like I'm salivating just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it's a meal I cannot replicate here.
No, we've tried. We've really tried.
It's only good there. I mean, we've brought marmalade home, but once you slather it onto American bread, it's like,
yeah, it kind of loses something.
It doesn't work. So it's funny is you could add one of there's a website called British Corner Shop.
Yeah.
And you can buy British groceries from them. And I follow an expat group in Chicago, and they often have boxes come of British food. And one of the number one things they order is half a dozen loaves of British bread
because
they cannot stand the bread here. It's like eating cake.
Yeah. It like you said, it's fluffy and light American bread. And I've even tried to bake my own British bread, and I'm pretty skilled. I mean, I wouldn't get a Paul Hollywood handshake by any stretch, but I mean, I'm capable. I'm very capable, but it's not as good. I don't know. It's something that's uniquely British.
So what would you say is your favorite British dish?
You have to classify, because do you mean breakfast, lunch, or dinner, snack, or meal?
All right, well, let's go through the day. Let's start at breakfast.
At breakfast. Well, it's going to be a tie for me. It's either going to be oatmeal, which I know sounds like the lamest answer ever.
And some gruel.
Oh, hey, don't the oatmeal game in Britain. They have got it going on to the point where I'm not quite sure if it's Northern Irish or Irish, but I won't buy American oatmeal anymore, with the exception of Bob's Red Mill. They do a really nice whole oatmeal, which is completely an American company. But I will buy, I think it's McCann's Irish Oats, and it's the whole oat. But British oatmeal is just, do yourself a favor. If you see it somewhere, get yourself a bowl of it. It is so good. And I cannot recommend it enough, especially if you're sightseeing and you've got a really packed itinerary. A bowl of oatmeal will keep you full and moving, give you the energy to move through the day. Now, my second choice is probably eggs and soldiers. So what eggs and soldiers is, it's typically a dish served to small children in Britain, but What it is it's a soft boiled egg, and you see them a lot like in movies where like with aristocrats, like the egg sits in an egg cup, and you soft boil an egg. 4 minutes, I've learned, seems to be the perfect amount of time. The egg is just set, but the yolk is still good and gooey. You lob the top off, and then you take toast and you cut it into really thin strips, and you dip it in the soft yolk. It is so good. I literally spent a whole one morning, like, I don't know, maybe 2.5 hours, and went through, I don't know how many dozen eggs in the cottage one morning. We were like, the weather was really rotten, and I had a couple dozen eggs that we had to use, and I just practiced making
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Like, what was the perfect amount of time for the perfect set egg?
It was one of our kids' favorite dinner.
Oh my gosh,
we would make them eggs and soldiers for dinner. They love it.
Our kids still eat eggs and soldiers for dinner on occasion. It's a good comfort food. How about you?
Well, I already talked about my favorite breakfast is scrambled eggs with British toast, marmalade, and butter and marmalade. Oh, sorry, I'm salivating again. And usually for me, that's a good fuel to get me to lunch when we're out exploring.
Right.
You gotta complement it with a cup of tea.
Yep.
And
you gotta have a cup of tea with breakfast.
Sometimes I usually eat a bowl of cereal or a banana, but that's not British. So.
Well, and you know what's interesting is I'm a die-hard coffee drinker when I'm here, but when I'm there, coffee just feels weird with breakfast because the tea there is so good that, and honestly, it will fuel you up like a good cup of coffee will. So if you're drinking the right tea, you will not notice caffeine dip.
So what's your favorite lunch meal?
My favorite lunch meal. Okay. So I'm going to share memory because the memory helps make it my favorite lunch meal. My favorite lunch meal is a cheese and onion sandwich. So a cheese and onion sandwich is not exactly what it sounds like. It's caramelized red onion jam. Okay. And it sounds very tart, but now I'm salivating. It's deliciously sweet, and it's like perfection in a jar. I could eat it out of a jar with a spoon. I wouldn't, but and so they slather it on a piece of bread, and then they grate good English cheddar on it. So it's not like a slice of cheese, it's grated cheese. It has to be grated. And I found this combination because the British love sandwiches. You will find the most unique combination of sandwiches. Like, we don't, and I wonder if it's like every country has their own unique combinations. I think probably, but particularly the British, like, beautiful sandwich combinations, things you would never think would go together, but they go together beautifully. Anyway, so we were one of our first trips, like post kids, we were visiting a stately home, and it was like in January. The kids were back home in Chicago. We'd been running all day, seeing the sights, and we were having a great time. And then, like, it was like 2:00, and we were like starving for lunch. And so, like most stately homes, they had a cafeteria in the stables.
Kingston Lacey?
I think it is Kingston Lacey. Yes, it is Kingston Lacey. You're correct. And, like, I picked up a cheese and onion sandwich. It comes, like, pre-boxed in a little triangle box, like you get here, but a packet of salt and vinegar crisps or chips. Oh, yum. And a cup of tea. And then you got your lunch, and, we're standing here with our trays, and, the spaces in Britain are really unique as far as, like, layout. And so, like, it's literally set in an L-shaped horse barn, like, a reclaimed horse barn.
In the old stable.
In the old stable, right?
Table.
Yeah, really unique, but there was nowhere to sit. Like, nowhere to sit. And so, the British are very hardy, like, even when the weather's inclement. So, like, they had picnic tables with, like, big umbrellas, and so we took our lunch outside, and it was chilly. I mean, all right, it wasn't chilly. It was cold. And so here we are sitting, you could see the steam from our cup of tea, and it's a little misty and not wet, but damp. And here I am eating this cheese and onion sandwich, having a hot cup of tea, and it was just the best memory of, like, being
it felt very British. Like, we're being very hearty and we're eating outside in the rain.
Well, the funny thing is we've replicated that experience because we enjoy it so much. We've been back to Kingston Lacey several times and just to visit the cafe. Cause
I know, and you can get a cheese and onion sandwich just about anywhere, but they do it one particularly well. So it's cheese and onion sandwich, salt and vinegar crisps, and a cup of tea. How about you?
I'd say my favorite lunch is a segue from that, and because we visit a lot of National Trust properties.
Can I say real quick? Just want to jump in. You cannot go wrong eating lunch at a National Trust cafe.
It's expensive, but
it is, but the food is really good. Sorry for the interruption there, folks. So yeah, you can't go wrong eating at a National really Trust property. It's usually pretty healthy. I mean, there was pretty healthy choices.
Some of it's locally sourced.
Yeah, on the estate.
But yeah, but usually, like, the type of food that you get at a National Trust cafe is generally the same at the bigger ones. Mm-hmm. And so one time I never had one before. I tried it was a steak pie.
Oh, meat pies, British meat pies.
And I'm a finicky eater, so like this was an adventurous try for me because like there's gravy, I don't like gravy. There's vegetables, I hate vegetables. But there was meat in it. And I was like, oh, this could be good. Okay, so I got it and I tried it.
And it like came in a bowl with the pie crust on top,
and I was like, okay, I don't know how to eat this, but okay. So I broke into the crust, took a bit of crust tentatively.
Yeah.
I was like, that was really good. And then I went to dipped some crust into the gravy, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. And then I got a piece of meat, and I was like, oh my God, where have meat pies been all my life?
I know, right?
And I was like, this is so good. And
yeah.
So now, whenever we go, we actually try to, when we're out exploring, at least in the countryside, we try to like see if there's a local National Trust property, because we'll go to the cafe and I'll have a meat pie and you'll have a cheese and onion sandwich, and then we'll have tea and cake after we see the house.
Or soup. Like, the British soup game is mad respect. I mean, again, things that you wouldn't necessarily put together for soup as an American, but so good. Like turnip soup. I've never seen turnip soup ever in America. I've never even seen turnips in soup in America. Now, granted, that might just be because we're in the Midwest. Other parts of the country might do turnips, but oh my gosh, turnip and carrot soup is absolutely delicious.
And I would say my honorable mention,
yeah,
I know you'll probably agree with this, is because it's a special meal you only have once a week.
Oh,
would be
I know where you're going.
Sunday roast, Sunday lunch. Oh, if you're in the country, if you're anywhere in Britain, and on the weekend, on Sunday, you have to find the best local pub or restaurant, and you have to book a place for Sunday roast.
You must book.
Book ahead, or you'll...
Do not be American about it. Speaking as an American, and was like, I don't have to book in. Yeah, no, yes, you do.
One day it took us 4 pubs to find, with hungry kids, to find a pub that could fit us in. So always book ahead.
And there was a reason they could fit us in. Let's just be honest. It wasn't that good.
That was probably the worst Sunday lunch we ever had, but that's...
Oh, is that the one where you were introduced to turnips?
No, that was parsnips.
Parsnips.
I thought they were fries. They were not fries. They were parsnips. And they're vile.
No, they're delicious. If we could have had a camera for that, he was like, there's something very wrong with these fries. And I'm like,
Or chips, as the British would say. They weren't chips.
I'm like, those aren't chips. Those are parsnips.
Roasted parsnips. I was like,
which are delicious.
No, they're vile. They're an affront against humanity.
No, they're not. Turnips. Turnips for life.
So... Sunday roast is...
Yeah, like we don't do roasts like that here.
We do, because we like having Sunday roast now, but like...
But can I say, though, that it has literally taken me a couple of years to learn how to do a proper British-style Sunday roast.
So what are the elements of a good Sunday roast? There's the meat.
Yes, which is usually like beef.
Beef roast.
Lamb.
Or chicken.
I don't see chicken a whole lot.
I've seen chicken.
Okay.
And then and often there's a vegetarian option too.
Yes.
Most pubs will have a vegetarian option.
Yes.
So, and then that's just the that's just the icing on the cake. What really is the best part of Sunday roast is everything that comes with it, which is the gravy, which now I like gravy on Sunday roast.
But it's different from American gravy. It's more like an au jus for American palates. It's not a thick gravy. It's more, I mean, you could get it. Don't get me wrong. You can get a thick gravy, but it's more, I don't know. It's more like a juice, like a pan juice.
And then roast potatoes.
Potatoes roasted in duck fat. This is a skill to learn, but like, so you boil your potatoes, and it's got to be the right kind of potato. Like a Yukon Gold here. It's not as good as a Guernsey potato, which you would get there, but it's still delicious. So you boil the potato just for a couple of minutes. You don't cook it all the way. And then you rough them up real good, like with a metal spoon, put a little flour in them, and then you have a pan of hot duck fat waiting. Oh my God. Turn it all over in the pan, throw it back in, and just let them, like, they get this the most beautiful golden brown crust on them, and they are crunchy on the outside and fluffy on the inside. Oh my God. I might need a minute and a cigarette.
And then the vegetables.
Yes. Usually the vegetables are either steamed or roasted, but like they sit in most cases, at least how I've had Sunday roasts, they sit in like the juice that the meat has cooked in, and it's just like once it's all plated, it's delicious. You're gonna have to do something about that, because he's just gonna walk around and around and around.
I wanted to finish talking about Sunday roast. So then, there's the coup de grace of Sunday roast.
Yes.
Which is a Yorkshire pudding.
Oh.
Which is not
pudding. It's not a pudding. Not like made by Jell-O.
It's not. It's it's kind of, sort of a.
It's like a popover a little bit.
It's like a mixture between a pastry and a dinner roll.
Yeah, it's like a popover a little bit. I think that's kind of.
Yeah.
Because the popover's like you've got the pastry, and then it's usually hollow inside.
Yeah, and it's hollow inside, and it's like that when you slather it with the gravy and
you got to pour gravy in the well.
Like that's heaven.
Can I say that I have finally? Would you agree? I have finally come pretty close to perfecting a Yorkshire pud.
Yes, I agree, and not just because you're my wife.
Oh well, I mean, it sounds simple enough to make. It's only a couple ingredients. How can you go wrong? I'm pretty skilled in the kitchen. Let me tell you, my journey to make perfect Yorkshire puds has been a journey. It has probably taken me 2 years to get them as close to perfect. But I think it depends on the recipe.
Yeah, you can't use a mix. You have to do it from scratch.
You have to do it from scratch. BBC Food, that's my preferred recipe. Do not use an American recipe. They will not. Do not, like, I have seen American recipes where they make it like all in one pan, like, you know, like in a casserole dish. No, it should be done in a muffin tin. And okay, so the perfect Yorkshire pud takes a long time to make. Like, it took me a long time to learn how to make them. I highly recommend the BBC Food recipe. You can find it online. We'll link to it in the show notes. I found this to be the superior recipe. Also, a couple of tips. If you're going to try this at home, number one, make sure the oil that you put a little bit of oil in each muffin cup or in the muffin tin. Make sure it is screaming hot. Otherwise, you just end up with soggy, oily muffins. Or Yorkshire puds. But, and make your Yorkshire pud batter and let it rest, which, like, the American in me is like, oh, eggs and milk sitting out in batter on the counter, not a great idea. But you know what? Let it sit for like 45 minutes, and it makes the fluffiest Yorkshire puds. So.
Yeah, so then what would you say is your favorite dinner meal?
My favorite dinner? Oh, I don't know. Do you have a favorite dinner?
I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy.
Yeah, you are.
So my favorite is their cuts of meat are different, or beef are different there than they are here.
This is true.
The most common steak that you'll get in a pub or a restaurant is a sirloin. And it's slightly different than what we
it's
think of
completely
as-
different than an American sirloin.
Yeah, it's different. A sirloin here is like thin and like it's not really much to write home about. But there, it's closer to, I would say, a thinner strip, New York strip style strip steak. You don't really find those there, unless you're going to an imitation American steakhouse.
Yeah.
So
why would you do that in Britain?
But like the most common cut is a sirloin, and they're not huge. They're usually like 10 or 12 ounces. Some pubs are like 8 ounces, and which is good because then you're not overeating.
The portion sizes in England are great. I feel like, it's enough to finish. It's possible to finish the meal. I feel like here in America, really, and like, I don't mean, like, we're not hating on American cuisine, okay? American cuisine,
It's just different.
It's different. It's what we were brought up on. There are great American dishes that are uniquely American. But in my experience, when we go out to eat, and maybe it's because we're in the Midwest, I don't know, but like a portion size is really like 2 or 3 meals, at least for me. Like, I have a really hard time finishing a meal. But in Britain, like, the portion size is a lot, to me, I think it's a lot smaller. And it's more like a healthy portion size. There are still a lot of times where I struggle to finish a meal in Britain. But, yeah.
So I would say a nice British sirloin steak, and this is the most important part.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Is the chips that it comes with.
Not just any chips.
Not just any chips. Well, there's varying degrees of chips. Like,
he means fries.
Fries. But there's a standard British chunky chip, which is heaven.
You could write a sonnet.
I could, if I could write a whole book about chips, I would. Like,
You could.
I love chips.
You could write a book about chips.
Chunky chips are the closest analog we have here is steak fries, but
or like a potato wedge.
But even then, they're not. They're
like square.
They're not thick
or
enough.
rectangular.
They're like square, rectangular.
They're rectangular.
They're thick. It's more
like it's a hunk of chip.
And depending on the kind of restaurant you go, like if you're having a sirloin at a pub, you'll get pub chips like you would get with fish and chips, which I don't like fish and chips, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't like fish and chips. It's absolutely delicious.
Don't like fish. And then, so then there's like standard pub style chips, okay? But then if you go to a nicer restaurant, okay, that where you're going to pay a little more for your meal, you'll get gourmet chips, which it's the weirdest thing. They'll come perfectly square and like stacked in a pile of chip architecture, and they're usually like the fancier the restaurant is, the more they've been fried. So like,
yeah, this is true.
So like the best kind are the triple cooked, and duck fat chips.
Yeah,
like
notice a trend here: potatoes and duck fat.
Yeah,
marriage made in heaven.
Like. How much is airfare to England tonight? Let's go.
Oh, I'm game. Let's go for dinner, right?
Yeah. So, oh man, that's a nice piece of. And I apologize to the vegetarians and vegans who are listening, but
yes,
a nice steak and some chips, like it's great. That's probably my favorite.
All right, stop hitting the table though.
That's my favorite Britishish meal. That's not really my favorite meal when we're in Britain, though.
I don't think I have a particular favorite dinner. I like to try things when I'm there. I mean, I've tried meat pies. I've tried fish. I eat a lot of fish when we're there because it's an island and a lot of it's fresh and beautiful. Yeah. How about, do you have a favorite, not bad British food story, but like gaff? Like British food gaff? Or like where you're like, oh, that was a learning experience that you would want to share?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
So, this was 10 years ago now.
Okay.
And we went to a very nice restaurant with some very good friends.
Yeah.
And it was a gourmet menu.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Oh, I know. I think I know what you're talking about.
And there was steak. And I was like, okay, I recognize that. I'll order that.
Yeah.
And the waiter, who was not British, had a foreign accent, so I think there was some miscommunication in the ordering process. He's like, that steak comes bleu. I'm like, I don't know what that means. He's like, that's what the chef wants to cook it as bleu. I'm like, okay. Okay. So fast forward, the food comes, the steak comes. The steak is not cooked.
Which means it's perfect for me. They ran it through a warm room.
I mean, it's technically cooked, but it's bleu, which is on the rare to well done scale. It's before rare.
Perfect.
And like, I wanted to be a good sport, and I ate it, and all the whole time I'm eating it, I'm like, I don't want to put this in my mouth. It's not cooked. It's cold.
Well, you eat your steaks like beyond well done.
That's not the case anymore.
Oh, I beg to differ. As someone who cooks dinner, I beg to differ.
I've started ordering medium well at restaurants.
What?
Yeah.
If it's not like, if I can't put a piece of shoe leather there in place of the steak, like, you're like, this isn't cooked.
So yeah,
and you like what you like, and I respect that, but you're also ruining that meat.
And I felt awful because our friends were paying for the meal, and I was just like, I did my best. Yeah. There were plenty of fries, so
yeah, I had.
It was now I know what blue means. That's never happening again.
Yeah.
But the restaurant was great.
The restaurant was beautiful.
Like, it was Skylon, the National Theater. I think. I don't know if it's there anymore. I
don't know.
It's been a while.
But we've had some really great dining experience, particularly with those set of friends. I think they know the good places to eat. They do. I think I have two, and it's tied. The first one, we went to our favorite British pub down in Dorset for Sunday roast, and it was just John and I.
It's in Wiltshire.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you where it is or what pub it is because it's a secret.
Yes, because you keep your favorite pub secret, so you can get in. But beautiful pub, a great Sunday lunch or Sunday roast, and I really like in Britain when you order a glass of wine, like there's a notch on the glass for like the ounces per pour. So you're getting a full 10 ounces or 12 ounces, or, they'll sell, would you like the small wine or the large wine? And Sunday lunch in a pub, particularly in a country pub, like, it's a couple of hours. You take your time, you have a glass of wine, you have an hors d'oeuvre, or a starter as they call it. You have dinner, or your main also as they call it, and then you have pudding, which is dessert, which is not literally pudding. It's what they call dessert.
Call a dessert course.
Yeah. So, it's Sunday, like, it's fine to have more than one glass of wine, like, and so we're at this pub, and I'm looking at the menu, and I'm like, okay, well, I know I'm going to want more than one glass of wine through our entire dining experience, and John doesn't drink. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to order, and everything is in metric. So as an American, like, metric is like, bleh.
Foreign language.
Yeah, like, no
16 degrees C, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, well, we're getting better at that, but so I'm like, okay, I think that's roughly like a half bottle. So I order this really nice bottle, or what I thought was a half bottle of red wine, and they bring out this craft, and granted, it's what I ordered, and like, it is like, boom, like the like
the table strained under the weight of
I'm like,
this craft of wine.
Holy cow, this is a lot of wine. And so John's like, and now it's already poured, like they've opened the bottle, and I'm like, okay. So that was a very boozy lunch, I think, like.
And that's why Anglotopia is in trouble, because we had to.
No, nice, real nice. No, that's like one where, traditionally you'll go for like Sunday lunch, and then you'll go for a nice walk. I think like we went for Sunday lunch, and I went and napped it off. But I think the second biggest food gaffe I've ever had in Britain is, again, another dining experience with our really dear friends.
I know where you're going with this.
And a famous American TV chef made sole meuniere, and it's this lemony butter fish dish, and again, probably because we're in the Midwest, I wanted to cook it. I wanted to try it. It looks amazing. It's very traditionally French dish. I cannot find sole anywhere. Like, no one had it. And so we went to this very, very fancy...
Went to Rules.
Yes.
Rules is the oldest restaurant in London.
And I'm like, if anybody's going to do it right, it's going to be them. I'm so excited. So I had bought a new dress.
Great chips.
To go to dinner. And this is relevant to the story. So they bring out this... I order sole meuniere. And they bring out the whole fish, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's sitting in melted butter, and I'm like, in a very expensive new dress. And I'm like, oh, this was probably not the right thing to order, like, because there's, like, butter. And as an adventurous eater, I've learned how to eat a lot of different things. But the British are very particular about table manners, and that's something I hold very dear to me. I am, too. Nothing is worse than sitting down with somebody and, like, zero table manners. Like, that just, like, it puts me off my meal. And I know that's a very, like, super snobby thing to say, but it's courtesy for your fellow diner, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so I'm looking down at this fish dish, perfect white, that is sitting in beautiful clarified butter, and on top of a white tablecloth. And I turned to one of our friends who's sitting next to me, just basically said, how do I eat this? Like, it had bones in it and everything. And I took a bite of it, and never having had sole before, did not realize that sole has little itty bitty teeny tiny bones in it. Well, yeah, fish has bones in it, right? But, like, these were, like, tiny. And I'm like, are they so tiny that I eat the bone? Do I not eat like, this was the most difficult meal to eat. And I think it's important to mention, like, since I've kind of touched on etiquette, like, if you go to dinner with British people, they tend to clear their plate. So as Americans, or at least Americans of our generation, we don't clear our plate. Like, so when you don't, people assume that you don't like the meal. Now, in this case, it wasn't that I didn't like the meal. It was just that I couldn't figure out how to eat it politely without, like, butter everywhere in this super fancy restaurant. And it was delicious, but it was a chore to eat, like, to try and eat around. I think that, like, I don't know. Maybe it was very funny to watch the American, like, try and do that. I don't know. But, so I think that's probably my biggest British food gaffe.
Highly recommend Rules.
Oh, it's beautiful. Very gamey menu. Like, I mean that
you can get a steak.
Respectfully. Like, there's rabbit and pheasant and, very traditional, like, hunter-gatherer kind of food.
It's an experience.
It is. I think, what is the most adventurous British thing you've ever eaten?
I don't know. You go first.
How about the meal that we had up in Akergill Castle in Scotland for you?
That would be it. Yeah, that was. Now Akergill Castle, or Akergill Tower.
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be pedantic. But,
that's okay.
Up
near John O'Groats, tippy top of Scotland.
Yeah, it's like, it's a stately home hotel.
Gorgeous.
Well, it was. It's not a hotel anymore.
Now it's a stately home.
The restaurant is closed. An American heiress bought the castle when it was for sale and closed the hotel and the restaurant, everything. So but when we were there, it was like 3 or 4 months before it closed. Mm-hmm. There was no sign that was going to happen. No. And so dinner is a process.
It's like Downton Abbey.
Yeah,
it was like Downton Abbey.
It was like Downton Abbey. You start with drinks in one of the sitting rooms, and then once you had drinks and your table is ready, you go into the Great Hall, which was where dinner was. And
like, you expect, like, I know Beauty and the Beast is French, but, like, it's like a castle out of Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, like, it's like a castle.
It's a great hall.
Yeah. It's incredible. Just
medieval great hall.
So beautiful.
And we sat in the hearth. Like,
yeah,
the old giant fireplace had been, like, converted into a place you could sit.
There was a fireplace in the back, but, like,
yeah,
it was like a cove in front of the fireplace. It was so beautiful.
And I didn't understand anything on the menu.
It was a set menu.
It was
so
a set
like
menu,
you had
like,
what was fresh and local that night. That
yeah,
dinner was dinner.
There were like 2 options for each course, but like that was it. Like you couldn't order. I couldn't order a burger and chips or a steak and chips. Like,
no, you
it
cannot.
was set by the chef. Like it was there wasn't a cook in the kitchen. There was a chef in the kitchen.
Yes.
And so like I don't know, like. Yeah, everything I ate was something I'd never had before and probably never will again.
A lot of game,
yeah,
a lot of locally hunted source. There was venison.
I think I had the pigeon.
My God, so
the
delicious.
Appetizer.
Yes, so delicious.
I was like, pigeon? Okay. Rats with wings? Okay.
No, it's a different kind of pigeon.
It's a game pigeon.
And they are so delicious.
I disagree. And then
you were just mad you couldn't get ketchup.
And I think the main course, I chose the lamb, which I'm not a huge fan of lamb.
I love lamb.
Lamb,
it's so good.
Lamb there is different than lamb here because lamb's not a huge thing here in the U.S.
No, actually, it's not.
Lamb is actually a delicacy. Like you have to pay extra if you
for
want
lamb here.
Yeah.
Yes,
there lamb is very common.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's as common as beef.
Yeah. So lamb was the main, which I didn't like that either because I don't like lamb.
I thought it was delicious. I loved it.
I just like.
Was it like a liver of some animal too? I can't remember. Like it was a very unique menu, and it was one where things that I've never had either.
Yeah, we both were out of our comfort zones.
But it was great. We tried it, and you were a good sport. You really were.
We were over. All I wanted was a bag of chips. It's like I need some chips. So we actually drove around Wick.
Yeah, guys.
Looking for somewhere to get chips. This
really happened.
But we didn't find anywhere to have chips, so we just went and listened to the sea instead.
It was amazing. It was so beautiful. How about regional stuff?
Okay.
Like Purbeck ice cream?
Yeah.
Down in the south?
Yeah, like ice cream is ice cream everywhere, but Purbeck ice cream is particularly Dorset, and it's very good.
It is very good.
It's very rich and creamy. They use local cows and...
Oh, I just thought of another food, like food no-no. It was so bad. So when we travel a lot, we're there for business. So we have business meetings and we're meeting business contacts and that kind of thing. And we had a contact over there who was so generous and decided that she was going to take us around down by Swanage. Remember this?
Yeah.
And she took us to this adorable little oceanside cafe. So cute. And
Worth Matravers, I think is where it was.
Yeah. So she's like, everything is really good. She's like, the potted prawns?
I remember this meal. I did not like this meal.
I think it was potted prawns. Like, the British do potted meats, and it's kind of like, it comes in like what we would, like a cup of soup bowl, not like a ramen cup of soup, but like if you order a cup of soup out. So it's not super big, and it's like, I don't even know what is in potted meat. Like, it's almost like a cross between like a cold set loaf of like, almost like a, not quite mousse, anyway, it's like this cold set pot of meat. I'm sure there are people who absolutely love it, and we're going to get letters about it, but it just wasn't my thing. So I ordered this, what is prawns, which are essentially shrimp, this like potted prawns, and like you turn it out, and it was like, I really wanted to like it because this place was very like special to our host, and so like I struggled through this, like, just trying to be polite.
It made you ill.
It made me violently ill.
Yeah,
so
food poisoning almost, I would say.
Yeah, like, and it wasn't that I didn't.
And that poor woman's.
Oh my gosh, it was. So we're driving. So she decided to drive us around Swanage, right, and around the hills of Swanage, and it's real like loopy and hilly and nothing's straight, and it was very foggy. So like they say like if you get car sick easily, and I was in the back seat, I do get car sick. They say like pick a spot on the horizon and just kind of look through the front window, and that can help mitigate it. But it was so foggy, I couldn't. And then like So we're driving around, and she's trying to show us the sights.
Prawns are like, we want to go back to the sea.
Yeah, ew. And so finally we get back to her house, and by the time we got back to her house, I was like green. I was just like, and we like, it was the end of our meeting, like, and we were kind of socially expected to go on our way, and I knew I couldn't make it to like a services or something, like I needed the ladies' room like right then and there, and so I did. So incredibly rude. I was like,
embarrassing.
Oh, it was horrible. I'm like, I'm so sorry. May I please use your bathroom before we go? And you know, even by American standards, I would still never ask because we weren't invited in. And so so she was very kind and let me use the ladies' room. And I realized once I made it into the ladies' room that I was actually seriously ill. And she was very sweet, and she came to check on me. And again, I had to, like, major social gaff. I was like, I'm so sorry to be a bother. I'm just really unwell. Do you have any toast? And she's like, well, I'll put on a pot of tea and toast. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so embarrassed, so incredibly embarrassed. And in the time that it took her to make tea and toast, which she was very speedy, I realized that this was the beginning of something more and that I was seriously ill. And if we didn't leave right away, that this was going to escalate very quickly. And like, you know, this is a business contact. We didn't know her very well. And so I come out of the ladies' room and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for the lovely tea and toast, but we need to leave right now. And John's looking at me like, are you for real? And I'm like looking at him, you know, as a spouse or a partner, and gives the other partner this look like, we need to go right now.
It's a long drive back to Jasper.
Man, that was rough. And I did end up reaching back out and apologizing profusely for my rudeness. And she was very kind, but...
Well, then there was the time
that was horrible.
We went, we met one of our advertisers who still advertises with us, so no damage was done. We were in the Cotswolds. We had our son with us. Did we have?
Mabel was with us.
Mabel was with us. She was still a baby though.
Yeah, she was like 6 months old. That was the Christmas trip.
Yeah, but Will, he was like 2.
Yeah,
and we didn't. We were still learning our kid, so like
you do that as parents.
Yeah, we were still like figuring him out, and he was like, he had been in good spirits the whole trip, but he was just mad and upset and inconsolable that morning, and like I had to meet this advertiser. This was an important meeting.
The advertiser encouraged us, like, bring the whole family along. We'll go for a walk.
Yeah, we're gonna go for a walk because he does Cotswold walks. They do walks in the Cotswolds. I'll put a link in the show notes. He'll appreciate the plug.
Absolutely.
Andrew, who runs it, he's a very nice
great
chap.
Guy.
And so we went for a short walk to Lower Slaughter. Was it Lower Slaughter or was it Upper Slaughter?
I don't remember.
One of the slaughters.
Yeah, which is weird name, but so beautiful.
There's a reason for that. But so we walked. It was like a mile.
Yeah, but William
just carried on screaming his head off the whole way, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong with him.
He had never done that before.
Like, he wasn't hungry. He was outside. He likes being outside. There were sheep and horses.
And we went like right up to the gate. Of course, we didn't touch because you don't touch somebody else's animals.
We're like, what is his freaking problem?
Hey, watch your mouth, man.
It was really starting to piss us off because we're like,
what, you?
Because we're like, we couldn't figure it out. And so we get to a nice pub and hotel, and one of the slaughters,
Cotswold pub, like idyllic.
There's a nice big wooden table where we all sit and have lunch. There's a fire in the hearth, and this was in January, so like
it's chilly.
It was great. And we ordered lunch. It was a hearty pub lunch. It was great. And William was still like inconsolable. And I'm like here having to try to have a business meeting. And like,
we ordered him ice cream. Finally, we were like, you know what? We'll just order
ice cream. And so then finally, he passed out. Like, he just went to sleep.
Yeah, curled up and went to sleep on the bench in the pub.
Next to the fire. And we're like, okay, that's how this is going to go. Okay. And so he just slept. He slept through the meal and slept and slept.
It was bizarre.
And then
Let me finish this part of it because
I leave the scene because me and Andrew went and we'll go back to get the car.
Right, and you took Mabel and, all bundled up, and so we wanted to let William nap for a little bit because it was just such an odd thing for him, and we, I knew John was going to be around with the car shortly, and I woke him, and he sat up, and if you're squeamish, like tune out for a couple of seconds here. He woke up and proceeded to projectile vomit everywhere.
All over this ancient pub.
In this very smart pub. Now, granted, it's probably not the first time somebody's vomited in a pub. And, like, as a mom, I had not been through this situation before. So it's, again, if you're squeamish, tune out for a couple of seconds here. My instinct was, like, to just catch, which is so gross. I don't even know this part of this. Because, I mean, we're in a very smart, very beautiful pub. They know this, is Andrew? Yeah. Andrew. They know Andrew. I'm like, oh my God. And the wait staff was incredible. Like, they came over. They were so helpful. That's one of the great things about the British is they're so child friendly. Like, they recognize, like, oh my God, this lady is in distress. Her kid is ill. Like, and so, and I don't do, like, of all the parenting things, like, when one of my kids is, like vomiting ill, like, I completely lose it. Like, I don't cope very well. But by a miracle, I was, like, able to keep my stuff together and get him, like, all, like, ready, like, cleaned up and ready to go, and the staff was great, but we joke around with him now, like, that is the only time you are allowed to pass out, wake up, and vomit in a pub, ever. Like, you did it. You don't get to do it in your 20s.
Yeah, so after we did that, we put two together. When he's a cranky little jerk, he doesn't feel well, and we just didn't, we didn't know.
It was the first time he had ever had something like... He still wasn't
talking much, so he couldn't communicate to us what was wrong.
Yeah.
And so we felt terrible that we went through with the day.
Just total jerks.
As awful parents, but...
We didn't know.
We didn't know. And so then we got to spend the next 24 hours as a bug passed through him. Thankfully, Mabel didn't get it, neither did we, but... Yeah. It was probably something he ate.
Well, no. Remember, we won't name names. We're not going to name names. We were staying in this holiday cottage. And So when we got back to the holiday cottage... the cottage owner, and this is not the cottage in Dorset. I want to make that very clear. Somewhere, and this cottage, they're not even in business anymore. Go figure. When we got back, the cottage owner came to see us, and I said, hey, our son's very ill. Do you have any sort of, because there were some cleaning supplies in the cottage. I'm like, we're going to probably have soiled linens here. Do you have any sort of disinfectant, bleach or something like that, so that I can sanitize as we're washing linens and stuff, because we wanted to be good guests. And she was just like, no, you don't need bleach. And I know that, like, for some, bleach is controversial, but I'm thinking I've got a 6-month-old and my husband and I are traveling, and the last thing we need is a bug to go through it was.
Yeah, but it all ended up being fine.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we need to wrap this up.
Okay.
Because we need to get to the Art Institute. So...
Yes, we have a day outing planned.
We have a day out planned. We don't have kids with us today, so we're going to have an adventure.
Yes. Hence, we're recording a podcast.
Yeah, so we're working first, and the adventure is the reward. So let's finish off.
Okay.
Pick your number one favorite restaurant when we're in Britain. And it doesn't have to be British-ish. It can be any restaurant where you've had probably the best meal, or a place we go back regularly, and you can have an honorable mention.
You're going to have to go first, because I don't know if I have an absolute favorite.
So I would say my favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to eat it later because they're here now.
Oh, no way. Yeah. Oh, you're going to get letters.
Nando's is my favorite restaurant when we're traveling there. And
a cheeky Nando's?
A cheeky Nando's. Now, for those who don't know what Nando's is, it's a South African Portuguese chicken chain. A smarter chain. It's not fast food.
No, it's not.
And it's not cheap.
It's good food. Like, it's like real food.
Yeah, it's really good food, and they specialize in a type of jerk chicken.
Like peri-peri.
Peri-peri chicken that's like marinated for like 24 hours, and like and then they have a hot spiciness scale, and it's spicy chicken, and it's amazing. The chicken's amazing, but what you really go to Nando's for is the chips. Is the Nando's chips.
And I'm not like, I could take it or leave it, but Nando's chips.
Yeah. Now I can't say because I don't drink, but supposedly Nando's chips are the ultimate cure for a hangover.
This is true. I can confirm.
Because they soak up the alcohol.
It's not so much that they're the cure for the hangover. It's what you eat before you go home. Yeah. Because all that delicious spicy potato soaks up all the alcohol. But it's also really good with a glass of white wine, just saying.
Yeah, and so we just love having Nando's, and now they're here, actually. There's several in Chicago.
I know, we're so excited.
I know, so we're going to probably have Nando's for lunch today, actually.
Yummy.
It's not,
Yummy.
It's 90% as good as the ones in Britain, but it's slightly different.
It is slightly different. Well, actually, no, it's not, because remember the first time we did Nando's here, we were like...
The chips are different.
Yes. Well, because potato is different. Yeah, it's a different potato.
Yeah,
but we were really surprised at how close it was. Like, because things usually don't translate well.
Yeah. I'd say my honorable mention, and this, I might be stealing your thunder here.
Go for it.
It's a London chain. They've got a few outlets outside of London. It's called Burger and Lobster.
Love Burger and Lobster. Okay. I love Burger and Lobster.
And it's exactly what it says on the tin. They have two things on the menu. They have hamburgers or lobster. Now, this is like if Jackie and John opened a restaurant, because I don't like seafood, but I love hamburgers. So
I love me some lobster or crab legs and champagne.
And so that's literally all they have. And you can have a hamburger any way you want, or you can have the lobster any way you want, or you can have a lobster burger, or you can have both.
Or you can have crab legs. They have crab legs.
I don't think they have crab legs.
Yes, they do. Because because I don't. It's not a lobster tail. It's usually crab legs. And like they're sold by like the size of the. Like you can get like A, B, or C. And like it is the most bizarre and wonderful thing.
Yeah, and it comes with chips.
It comes with, well, you can get it with chips, you can get it with a potato, you can get it a couple of different ways. But what I love is like they have really nice champagne. So you can literally, like, he'll sit there with a burger and chips and a Sprite and be absolutely thrilled, and that's amazing and great. And I'll be sitting across the table having, lobster and, a very expensive glass of champagne that is not very expensive, and, it's, two different worlds. It's great, though.
And it's not that expensive, either.
No, it's really, for
London prices, at least. They definitely have arbitraged the lobster market in Britain, so the lobster is not that expensive.
No, I love it, though. I think we all pretty much always go and do burger and lobster.
At least once, yeah.
At least once.
Because we stay in Soho now, and there's one right down the street. So, yeah, I would say, and if... Should I pick a favorite fast food? Yeah,
if you want to.
So, if I had to pick a fast food restaurant in Britain, I'm going to get letters for this, but...
Jonathan at Anglotopia.net.
Oftentimes...
I'm dying to know where you're going with this.
Oftentimes, if there's been a big break between meals and you're really hungry, and you need to get something that you know is going to be good and quick, you like to go with what's familiar. And I would say, because they're so common now throughout Britain, I would opt for a Five Guys, because they taste exactly the same as Five Guys back home.
Okay, I could see where you're going with that. What I find amazing is, like, if you eat like an American chain, fast food chain in Britain, it tastes different. Not different bad, just it tastes a little different because the potatoes are sourced differently.
When you bite into it, it's not what your taste buds expect.
But it's not so different that you're like, I don't know what this is.
But Five Guys has managed to make it taste exactly the
same. It's exactly the same.
I mean, how it is done it.
Bizarre.
Like maybe they bring the meat over and not use British beef. I don't know.
But or even the potatoes, like or it's an like maybe it's like an American russet potato. I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
it's
not
peanut oil. I don't know.
It's like some kind of witchcraft. Like it's amazing. I'm with you there. Like I was ready to like balk at like but you know what? I was
gonna say McDonald's.
No, I thought you were gonna say KFC.
I haven't. It's been so long since I've had KFC there. I know.
Yeah, I don't eat KFC.
The KFC is different there too. Like you can get chicken tenders and fries, but you cannot get a KFC here. But, like we were in York and there was a Five Guys, and we were like, let's just have
because it was like a nuts afternoon. Yeah, like we were super packed itinerary.
Yeah, we needed to go, starving, and eat quick, and we're like, hey, there's a Five Guy. Let's go there.
Yeah, because and it's. Sometimes when you're eating out in Britain, like...
You don't have time to research the restaurant and find a good one, because some restaurants are hit or miss.
Yeah, and you really do want to do... Like, I've had a couple of cases of food poisoning in all the years we've been traveling. But and so it's made... Like, that's not common. That is... I want to stress, that is not common. But you definitely want to do your homework if you're if it's going to be somewhere that's a little nicer. Do your homework first, because dining out in England tends to be a little more expensive than it is here in the US, and that's okay. But you want to make sure you're eating somewhere that's going to be delicious.
Well, when I was in Dublin last month, I had to kill a couple hours before a comedy show. And there was a Five Guys right down the street, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go there and get me some Five Guys for dinner. Sit there with my Sunday paper. It was fine.
Well, kind of in the same vein. So we went. I think it was 2 years ago. We had dinner, and we went to a show. In the West End. I know where you're going, yeah. And we got out of the show and like we ate our dinner.
Yeah, but we were starving.
We were like really hungry. It was the weirdest thing. So in the West End there is a Shake Shack.
Which now we had never been to Shake Shack.
It's like a New York thing, but now they're across the US.
Yeah, now they've come to Chicago, but then they hadn't come to Chicago yet.
But we had heard of Shake Shack.
We heard the hype.
I don't know.
Let's go. Want to go get a milkshake before we go back to the hotel?
Yeah.
And then we're staying in line. We're like, why don't we just get burgers and fries while we're at it too?
Yeah, because we were standing there, we're watching these beautiful burgers come out, and we're like, oh, we're actually kind of hungry. That looks really good. First Shake Shack I ever had was in London's West End.
Sounds free.
Right? OMG. Like, delicious. So good. Like you could have rolled me out of Shake Shack. It was so good.
We were hobbits. We had second dinner.
We did. It was so indulgent, and that's not something that's normal for us. But I think it's become a tradition. Like, go to a show, and then you go to Shake Shack afterwards.
I don't think we had been back to a Shake Shack till we went last week, did we?
Yeah, we found one locally.
There's one in Oak Brook Center.
Yeah, and it was like, I cleared my plate again. Like, a burger and fries, like, I'm like...
Whatever, it's a burger and fries, but Shake Shack? Give me some Shake Shack.
I literally cleared my... I ate the whole burger, all the fries, and the milkshake.
All right, so what's your favorite fancy, nice restaurant that we've been to?
I think it's really hard to pick a favorite. This is what I'll say, as far as... I don't think that, like... With the exception of Burger and Lobster, which is nice dining, but it's not fine dining, okay? It sounds like it's fine dining. It's not fine dining. I don't think I have a favorite. I do have a favorite somewhat kind of dining tradition when we go. So there are a couple big hotels in London that historically have been there forever. You've got the Ritz, you've got the Dorchester, you've got the Savoy. There's a bunch of them, and they've been around forever, and each of these hotels have a bar, and the bars in these hotels have been through, in some cases, 2 world wars and have an incredible history. So I started this tradition that each time we go to London, I pick a hotel bar and we go have one cocktail in the bar. And so far we've done the Ritz, we've done the Dorchester, we've done the Savoy. Do you remember where we did the Shard, but that's not a hotel. They have a beautiful cocktail bar as well. But
we have a hotel, but I think that's it. I don't think we've done more than that.
Yeah. I think, yeah, so that's like the past
Those
3 or
were
4.
those were like the big 3.
But so we have, it's this tradition of like I said, it's only one cocktail because, well, one for moderation, and they're very expensive. You're going for the experience.
Usually have tea.
He does usually have tea. So he's had tea service at all these fancy hotel bars. But yeah, I think that's kind of my choice is if you're looking, and it's nice, you could do it as pre-dinner drinks or after dinner drinks or something like that. It's really fun and it's a really neat experience. I will say one more thing and then we'll wrap it up here because I know you're giving me the look. Do your research on fine dining in Britain. If ask locals what's good. They'll tell you.
Ask your British friends because they'll know the good places.
Well, even if you don't have British friends, ask if you're staying at a hotel. Ask the concierge. Ask the hotel staff what they like. Where's a good local place. We have found just by chance by doing that places that look like I would never eat there. That look like a total dive, and we've had amazing meals. And then we've eaten at some of the finest restaurants in Britain, and I can't say definitively like, oh, it's always been a great meal when we went very high end. Nope, we have had some train wreck meals, very high end, and vice versa. So do your homework. Fine dining in Britain is a great experience. Just do your homework.
Now, we've talked about all the places that we've had good food, and you didn't mention Wagamama once.
That is my tradition. That is okay. Thank you.
You gotta explain Wagamama.
Okay, so Wagamama is it's like a Japanese chain, and they do beautiful, clean eating Japanese food. So you can get like noodles and teriyaki, and I'm selling this very short. They do not do sushi, but all other Japanese cuisine. My favorite thing from Wagamama is they do ramen, and they do this. My mouth is watering thinking about it. I'm so sorry. They do this chili beef ramen, and it's like spicy. Oh my gosh. It is so good. I have this tradition that every time we fly out of Heathrow, my pre-flight meal is a big bowl of ramen. And
I go to the pub, she goes to
I go get ramen. And really funny, a couple of years back, we rang in the New Year in London, and we really rang in the New Year in London. I think I don't know when we arrived at Heathrow if I was still jolly from the night before or it was the beginning of the hangover. It was not good. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get on a plane. What did I do?
Lush, trust me.
No, I'm not. As you stare, like, help me.
The battery indicators.
Oh, okay.
We gotta finish.
Anyway, so if you are insanely hungover, I highly recommend the chicken ramen. It's like nice and mild. It will set you right. Go to Wagamama. So good. You will not regret it.
All right, so that's our roundabout.
Oh my God, this was all about drinking.
Scattershot. Talk about British food. I'm sure we'll talk about this subject again.
Yeah, we should do a whole one about British baked goods.
Yeah.
Let's go get something to eat. I'm hungry.
So, please let us know in the comments what your favorite British dishes are. Your favorite restaurants you'd like to go to. They don't have to be British. I mean, if they're there.
If you've had a great dining experience, let us know.
I mean, Britain has been great at taking food from all over the world.
Literally.
And fusioning it with British cuisine.
Oh my God, we didn't even do Indian takeaway.
Yeah. So,
a curry.
British cuisine is a very nebulous concept. So, please leave us some comments of what your favorite dishes, your favorite foods, and your favorite experiences or faux pas. We'd love to read them. Yeah.
Or if you know of a great British spot here in the U.S.
Yeah.
that does something authentic.
Yeah.
Let us know. We are game.
Yeah, especially in Chicago. There's a place we've got to try one of these days.
Yeah.
So, this episode was sponsored by Jackie Wolfskill with Jackie's Vacations. And she is running a Downton Abbey filming locations tour in July. And they still have spaces available. And you'll get to spend a week exploring Britain's aristocracy. It's television, filming locations.
This will fill up quickly, guys.
This will fill up quickly. So I would recommend getting in touch with her right away. We'll put a link in the show notes, and you can email her at jwolfskill@dreamvacations.com. So thank you for listening, and we'll hopefully be back soon.
Yeah, let's go eat.